Today I have the pleasure to be with Lynne Anne Donchez. Her story is a long-time story focused in Doylestown. Lynne Anne, I think, is best known in so many ways for her dancing, her costumes, her hair design, her community involvement, and her hats. And we'll try to get to all of that in a couple moments. And so Lynne Anne, so great to have you here today to talk about your experiences in Doylestown and how you helped shape the community that we have. So perhaps let's start from the beginning. Uh, were you born in Doylestown?
No, I was born in Bethlehem
Yes.
under the star on the sixth day of Christmas. And I like that being told. So, and that's where my love of Christmas in Doylestown comes from.
Terrific. But it wasn't too long until Doylestown became your home,
I was a year and a half.
a year and a half.
Yes.
Uh, and ever since then, you've lived in Doylestown?
Yes, I have. I took a little hiatus for 2 years and was in New York, and which provided me with the background of my makeup, advanced hair, and a lot of theater work that I learned to do.
Hmm. So you attended schools in Doylestown?
Yes, I went to Our Lady in Mount Carmel,
Hmm.
Lenape, Cherry and White, Fight, 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 and I went to Central Bucks, and I was the last class to go through Central Bucks for 4 years.
I see. So that was Central Bucks before it had a West after
Absolutely.
it.
I did not go to West. I went to Central Bucks.
And your career in hair design
Hmm.
started while you were still in high school or soon after?
I started the summer after I graduated, the class of '64. So the fall of '64, I went up to Allentown to go to hairdressing school. And part of the time I commuted with a very dear friend of mine. And then the other times we stayed at my grandmother's in Bethlehem.
Hmm.
And we were there until the spring of '65.
Okay. One of the things that you're known for is a 40-year ownership of LAD hair design.
Yeah.
I mean, 40 years is an exceptionally long time to have a business in Doylestown. We talk about businesses that are thriving businesses after a much shorter period of time than that. But you didn't start with your own hair design shop, right?
No, I did not. What I did is I started in Buckingham.
Hmm.
I worked for a gentleman in Buckingham for 4 years. And when he took very ill and has since, he passed away shortly right after that, I went to work with a friend of mine um, that went to West, to Central Bucks, excuse me, and she was on Pine Street. And it was Patty McMurray, and her name was changed to Tandy. So it was Patty's salon on Pine Street. And I worked there for, it was just a few months into my fourth year. And then I moved to New York and I came back after about a year and a half and picked up where I left off. And then 13 years later, on a very sunny day, I took a walk in Doylestown because the salon had a lot of little people crawling around the floor, playing with toys, people smoking, doors not being opened. And I said, no, 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 I can't do this. I want hairdressing to be my career.
Right.
I am not here just to pass time. And I'm walking through Doylestown and I go to the corner and I see this beautiful shop, has, for rent on it. And I stood there and counted the windows because I wanted ventilation. And because I have asthma, always have. And I just did not like the fact that they were smoking and there was no air. And I rented the shop,
So
and
you sort of went green at an early point in your career.
I wish I had been greener in the shop in the beginning, but I gave it the best shot I could. And I opened the shop up. and never looked back.
And same location for 40 years.
Same location.
Yes. And while this is going on, you have a theatrical career, mostly behind the scenes, but not entirely. I think that begins also at an early age.
Mhm.
You were trained in ballet and
Ballet, jazz, tap. And then when I opened my salon, there was a group called Fractured Frolics, and they were raising money for the Central Bucks Senior Center, which was then called the Zeckman Center.
okay.
And there was a group of us, and many people that are still in the community today. They ask us, "Will you do something?" Well, obviously I can't sing, but I can make them think I'm singing. And so, but I was a tapper. So we had practices, we made the costumes, we did the design, and we all worked together. It was a wonderful time in my life. I don't know how I did it. I just set the timer and I washed towels in the middle of the night. And we were there and we raised and we were tapping and they were singing. And it was something we did during the winter. It was just wonderful.
So the Fractured Follies.
Yeah.
How long were they around?
I want to say, I know it was 15 years, but it could have been maybe a little bit more.
Mhm.
And that's when we went from raising money for the senior center to raising money for the Chalfont Fire Company.
Mhm.
And they had a need for somebody who was ill with cancer,
Okay.
and we had to raise money.
Right.
And so, and we were over at Unami Junior High School, and then they decided to move it to the lower end, and that, no, I couldn't do that. Not with the shop and
Well, now see, I'm a novice coming to this, so I visualize this as being a line from the Rockettes in New York. Is the Fractured Follies? Is that what they were doing?
they were hoping to look like that.
They were.
Yes.
There you go.
They were hoping to look like that. And then we had opening numbers. We used to enter from the back of the house and come through the audience. People would come. Families would come. The fire company would bake, so there would be bake sales in between. It was very vaudeville.
Great.
Very vaudeville.
But we know you more for the work you do behind the scenes
Mhm.
rather than on the stage.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my father was one of the first performers for Town and Country Players, and that was at Doylestown Borough High School. And then they were Doylestown
Now
Borough.
that's going to surprise some people because we associate Town and Country Players with a location on 263 in
Yes.
Buckingham Township. But
Well,
it started in Doylestown Borough High School.
Doylestown Borough High School, their first show was the fall of 48, and that's when my father came here. And he was in the show. Actually, people that I still associate with and do shows for. I just did a show in the fall, Mousetrap, for David Swartz. My father and David Swartz's mother were played romantic leads in Doylestown Borough High School. Yes.
As part of Town and Country Players.
Well, yes, Town and Country. They went from town, okay, there's the word, to the country, and we got the barn. They got the barn.
Yeah.
And I started working for them. Well, I did Tartuffe.
Mhm.
And I was out there and I said, I can't run back and forth. And then I always did a little bit of wigs. And then finally I got in, going there all the time and working backstage. That's where my specialty is. Keeping people on time. Keeping those little divas from driving everybody crazy. Oh, do I look okay? No, you look terrible, but go on anyway. So it's that's like my home away from home.
But you were there to make people look good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And one of the things that I did that I loved was we did Beauty and the Beast. And I met my wonderful friend there, and he and his wife met there, and we did Beauty and the Beast. And what happened was it was really over the top makeup, and it had to be done every single performance. So I said, okay, I'll do this. I said, you are married to me and don't even think about doing anything else. So I was there every night putting it on, his makeup, his hair. I studied about it. We got the wigs. I designed the wig, sewed things together, and put his fingernails on every night. When we would climb up the wall, they would fall on the floor, and we have to find them after the audience went home. Oh, Ron, I've had this hat on for so long. Do you mind if I change it?
Go right ahead.
All righty.
Go right
Oh,
ahead.
thank you. There you go. This is one of my favorites. And Ron, you asked me, how does my hair go over my hat?
Well, we'll get to hats because there's a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about.
But so Town and Country really, in many ways, defined your community involvement.
Absolutely.
But then you also had significant community involvement in a tradition that's been going on in Doylestown for over 100 years, and that's, of course, Santa coming to town.
Yes.
The Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yes. I just felt that every child should have a wonderful memory about Christmas. And everybody loves a parade. Nobody likes more than taking their kids to go get ice cream or a cold hot chocolate. So when they started doing Christmas, to me, Christmas was lovely, and I decorate the inside of Santa's hat. And that's a long and coming thing that people have helped with, and the lights. And then it just makes everybody happy. So I put together my own Mrs. Claus from everything that I have, and became Mrs. Claus. And then we go out, and this year we were asked to go to Dublin and ask them to help with their first celebration for the holidays. And Frosty and Rudolph, they're my very dear friends. By the way, they're married. and actually, Rudolph is the one who models for me. That's my model. But we all go together. This is something that we do together, and it's wonderful.
Isn't this exciting? Look at him walk up there. Look at him. He's getting into the, oh, look, he's going to get into the truck, and up he will go. He loves this park. Do you know that?
We love you guys for being here.
It's lovely, and
So
it's wonderful.
we can call you Mrs. Claus.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I will answer to it.
Okay. So, in a way, the elephant in the room are your hats. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. How did this begin in terms of your interest in hats?
Well, I think it was because when I was a child, I'd be very fair complected. My mother was sallow complected, so my dad was the fair complected one of the family. My grandmother on my mother's side always used to put a bonnet on me. They thought that was cute. So I would have this bonnet on. So it just, I don't know. I wore my father's hats at home. I went to Catholic school, and because I walked to school every day, and I wasn't the best child. I was rather precocious. And my mother would say to me, if you are not good, you will go to church on the way to school tomorrow morning. And I would be like, I might as well just get dressed now. And
Well,
that's what happened.
Of course, back then you wore hats to church.
Absolutely. We
Right.
wore hats. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't know, I think I always loved fashion. Okay. And so all the old movies, all the old costumes, I'd be at Town and Country and they go, Lynne Anne, so-and-so's going on stage. And I said, well, where's her hat? And then they would yell from the top of the, Lynne Anne, we don't have any footlights. You can put no brim on anybody at Town. If you don't have footlights, it covers their face with shadows. But when you walk in on stage, if you have a small hat or something that works, you can walk onto the center of stage, take the hat off, and put it on a table. Same effect. You can carry it in a hand. You can carry your gloves with it. These are everything that I studied because I just really enjoyed it. And then they call me and they go, "Oh, Lynne Anne," and this is what Walter Deli used to say, "a hat without feathers shouldn't be worn." Well, give me a feather and I'll stick it in for you. So that's how it went. And of course, some of this came about the fact that I had the pleasure of doing La Cage aux Folles the first time in New Hope at the Bucks County Playhouse. My friends were doing it. I did all the wigs. I helped assemble the costumes, and then I did all the styling of the wigs. I have a very dear friend, and he would go and keep them in order because of the time running back and forth. So, and that really, just threw me into loving every minute of it. And I did Dangerously Liaison and had to change the hair. I was combing wigs in their intermission for the next day. And I liked every minute of it. And they kept saying, they have to have hats on. And I said, they can carry their hat, but make sure it's shown.
Do you make hats?
No, I embellish them. And it all started with the Red Hat Society. A friend of mine was one of the supervisors of that. And she came to me and said, "We have a big thing coming on. Would you do a big red hat for me?" I said, "Sure." She said, so I went and got the bases. I used to drive down to Philadelphia, the outskirts of it, Cheltenham, and there was a hat shop there. It was accessories, but I used to go in there and buy all the feathers. But of course, you always have to fight with the mummers, because if you don't get your feathers by a certain time, they're not available. So there you go. No, and I would embellish them. And then I can't tell you how many years ago, they asked me to come to the Poconos. And the Red Hat Society had a weekend retreat, and I had to narrate a 750 women in red hats. You run out of words. Even I run out of words. Okay. And then, that was my first hat show that I gave, the history of the world through hats.
So you have a considerable hat collection.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I run about 150 hats.
How do you decide which one to wear?
Sometimes I pick the hat before I pick the outfit.
Oh.
Because sometimes I miss wearing a hat. And if it's a cocktail hat and I'm going out in the evening, since I'm usually by myself, people think I date my hat, so I have to make it look good.
So you might have another change to make to show us.
Yes, I do.
Let's see another hat.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
And where it is.
Right there. Oh, Tom, you're so careful. I appreciate that.
I'm seeing a hat that you probably wouldn't be wearing to church.
Well, is it a high mass? It's just, no, this hat I bought in 1983. We had a AIDS benefit at the Warrington Country Club, and I was chair with a friend, other people.
Right.
And I bought this to wear. And since then, I have been wearing it for very special occasions. And when I wrote my hat book, this is on the cover. This is my signet piece. No one's allowed to try it on. No one's allowed to touch it. And I wear it for very, very auspicious occasions. It's one of my favorites. It came from Rebecca's in Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen one like it.
Well, thank you for gracing us today with that very special hat. Although I believe that you have an incredible number of special hats for in various ways. Um, what's the most unusual hat that you have in your collection?
Oh, unusual.
Unusual.
Um, I'm trying to think. I did have one, and unfortunately, that went the way of all unusual things that fall apart. But I will say, I have a turn of the century in the 1800s, right going into the 1900s. This is a black Persian lamb with a little bit of feathers, like on that one, and it has a black Persian lamb muff, and it was given to me, found in a friend's attic, and it was the wooden box, and it had the Confederate soldier on it, and they were raising money. I had to get rid of the box because boxes hold moisture. We tried everything we could to get it out of it. We couldn't. And on the back of it is a loop that would go around a woman's bun. And I always put that on first to show everybody. And then I have another red hat, which is looks like I have a little ball on top of my head, and it has the same loop. The first one was made in around the end of the 1800s, and the red one was made the beginning of the 2000s, and that was the same back that was put on.
So you made reference to a book.
Yes.
So your hat collection has now found itself into a book.
Yes.
Fairly recently, I believe, too.
Yes, just a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And my friend Pat Achilles, who did my sketches for me, and she put the book together. And it all started because we have a very good friend. Her name is Jo Page, and she had the matriarch role in Enchanted April. And I had the pleasure of doing all the makeup, all the hair, all the hats, and dressing the set. I'm really not sure what the director did, but that's okay. And she in the play, she is in Enchanted April, which is a wonderful, wonderful film and a wonderful play. She takes a trip to go into town and go shopping. And all these lovely little ladies that are with her go, and they're all in roaring 20s. And of course, she is pulling the era behind her, and she's got on the petticoats and the formal dress, and she's in gray. Okay. Designer says to me, Lynne Anne, I want her in gray. I said, okay. So she comes back from shopping, and she has all these bags, and they're laughing and everything. And he says to me, where is her hat? Two ways to think about it. Don't put a hat with a brim on stage. Don't put a lot of feathers on because it distracts people. And then they say to you, where's the hat? So I found a beautiful gray hat, the same color, at Bonton's in Doylestown, on sale because it was Old Ladies' Day. And that was an Old Lady Day, so I called my mother. And I got the hat for him, and I brought it in, and everybody kept saying, you need feathers, you need feathers. And that's what started everything. I was everywhere, and I called everybody I knew, every drag queen, everybody that did shows. There were no feathers because we were going into New Year's when we had the mummers. They had all the feathers. So one of our engineers at Town and Country, he needed someone to run to the hardware store. Went to the hardware store, my little screws in my hand, and I'm walking around, and all of a sudden I see it. I see the color I needed. It was a feather duster on the end, and I put it on the hat and this antique pin, and it brought down the house. Well, from there, Jo Page came to the first hat show at the Mercer Museum, and she said, you have got to make a book. You put my hat and that story in that book. I said, Jo, oh, don't worry. I'll call Pat. She'll help you write the book. I go, I can't do a book. Well, did you ever have a bunch of people that didn't stop calling you till you said yes? So that's the story. That's how the whole hat thing started. And my friend Pat helped me write the book, and it has been people have really responded well. They love it.
Well, we are glad you said yes. Eventually that was a good thing. A good thing for us and a good thing for you as well, but a good thing for the community to share your hat collection with us. It's so great to have you here today to hear about your experiences in Doylestown. Um, you've been such an important asset to making Doylestown the community that it is, and thank you for that very much.
I thank you for having me. My pleasure.